Hi guys, welcome back to our channel, Bunny Recaps. Today we are going to see a 2012 released thriller movie called Kahani. A pregnant woman in search of her missing husband faces many troubles from others. In the end, whether she finds her husband or not is our story, with an unexpected twist towards the climax. The story opens in a lab, where a man, fully masked in protection, releases a toxic gas that kills all the rats kept for the test at once. The scene cuts to the heavily crowded metro station. In its usual hurry-burry, a man enters the train. He is searching for a bag. A lady pacifies her crying baby. Another woman finds a milk bottle and extends to offer it to the baby. The bottle slips to the ground. A toxic gas evacuates from it. The people, on inhaling the toxin gas, go unconscious and eventually dies. The news of it has been widely discussed in the media. Hands of terrorist in the incident is suspected, and a wide protest broke out among the public. 2 years later, Venus, a pregnant British Indian software engineer, lands in India. In search of her missing husband Adam, who worked there before went missing. She lodges a complaint in a local police station. Tom, a low-level cop, is assigned to help her. She went to check the place where her husband resided. She finds that he stayed in a low-key hotel. The hotel manager informs that no such person has ever resided there. Venus doesn't believe him and asks him to render the same room that her husband stayed in. The next day, Venus went to check with the National Data Center, where her husband worked. The HR informs her that there is no such person in her husband's name working there. Venus gives her a picture from her wedding and asks her to contact if she gets any information about her husband. Meanwhile, Tom arrives and informs that a corpse of similar identity as that of Adam is found. He takes her to the mortuary. She is disturbed and gets nauseated. She is relieved to find that corpse identified is not her husband. The HR finds that the man in the picture resembles a former employee. She checks the employee database for the name Milan, which shows restricted access. She asks her junior for the details of Milan, for which he says that it can be accessed only by Theo, who is in charge of the data and is currently on a day off. She calls Venus and arranges a meeting. She informs about her findings to Venus and tells that further details can be found only in the old National Data Office. Venus leaves on thanking her. She decides to collect information about Milan to know whether he has anything to do with missing of her husband. On that night, the HR is shot to death in her apartment by an undercover contract killer Bob, who poses as an insurance agent and for whom he is working is unknown. The intelligence officials are alerted of the HR's attempt to access Milan's record. A second commander-in-chief, whose name is David, meets Venus and asks her to leave India as the person she is looking for is non-existent. But Venus is determined to find the truth and proceeds with her search. Tom and Venus break into the old data office and looks for the details of Milan. Meanwhile, the contract killer receives a text to steal the records of Milan from the old data office. Tom and Venus find Milan's record. Before they leave, the contract killer enters the office. Tom and Venus hurried to hide from him and managed to flee in a narrow escape. The contract killer informs about the missing records of Milan to his chief. The next day, Venus confronts David with the records. David asks her why she is interested in Milan. She tells that he looks similar to her husband. So Milan could have used the resemblance to his advantage, which might be cause trouble for her husband Adam. Then David confesses that Milan is an unscrupulous intelligence officer who is behind the poisonous attack in the metro 2 years back and has been in a hideout since then. Confused Venus walks down the metro station. There the contract killer follows her. Venus is waiting for boarding the train. The killer standing behind her smirks and pushes her towards the track. Suddenly the killer pulls her back to the platform and warns her to stop her advances in searching Milan. However, the next day, Tom and Venus continue their search. They arrive at the address mentioned in Milan's record as his residence. They find the house in a dilapidated state. Venus finds the missing post box. So she checks with the neighbors for any letters in Milan's name. They hand over a few letters, from which they find a letter from a blood bank. They check with the blood bank, to which the doctor replies that it is an old case and asks them to visit him the following day. But the doctor was shot to death by the contract killer in the garage. Tom and Venus are left without any clue. Venus found tea glasses in Milan's house, so they chat with the little boy who delivered tea to Milan to know more about him. The boy says that Milan had stayed alone, but he was visited by a man frequently who had a briefcase with him all the time. Venus suspects Theo and took the boy to the National Data Center and asks him to identify the man. The boy identifies another man as the frequent visitor, who is the chief of Theo, named Mike. He is alerted of their presence and rushes into the office. He sent pictures of Venus to the contract killer. The scene cuts there. Tom and Venus are walking down a street, discussing their findings. The contract killer approaches Venus, but backed off on seeing Tom with her. He accidentally shoots a person walking by. Tom and Venus notice his presence and chase him. The killer, in an attempt to run away from them, crashes into a truck passing by and dies on the spot. Tom took his phone and finds the pictures of HR, the doctor, and finally Venus. They examined the sender's location and arrived an IP address. They went to the National Data Center to check the IP address of Mike's system to confirm whether it is matching with the one they found in the killer's phone. With the help of the receptionist, they break into his office. But Mike is alerted of their attempt to log in his phone and rushes back to the office. He is caught in the middle of the traffic. He leaves the car and runs to reach the office. He shouts at the watchman and orders all the main doors to be closed. Tom and Venus confirmed Mike's hand in the game. They manage to escape through the back gate before Mike gets hold of them. Tom and Venus are anxious. Mike followed them to the marketplace. A fight broke between them. Mike takes his gun to shoot Venus. Tom pushes him down to the ground. Venus gets hold of his gun. Meanwhile, David arrives there and shouts to not kill him for the want of information. But frightened Venus shoots him to death. David got furious and rebukes Tom for failing the plan. Later, Venus learns that Tom is working for David undercover and is not actually helping her. She breaks to learn that they used her for reaching Milan. David convinces her as her goal of her finding her husband will be accomplished if she continues helping them. Venus gives in and examines the computer of Mike. She recovers many sensitive files. A code of alphabet is stored in a file. They guess that the code may be a phone number of the person who is squealing out informations from the intelligence bureau. David finds the number once belonged to his chief Jack. Hence the jackal in the intelligence office who is helping Milan is found out. They plan to catch Milan through Jack. David asks Venus to call Jack. She calls him over the phone and informs that she had accessed the documents in Mike's system that are related to him. Jack doesn't show any signs and cuts off the call. In the next second, she receives a call from Milan, who asked her for files in return for her husband. Venus agrees. They planned a secret mission to catch Milan and Jack. The big day arrived. The city is on the final day of its 9 days festival. Milan asks Venus to come to a spot. She informs David and Tom and leaves the hotel. David set his team around the spot. Tom is doubtful of Venus's safety, as Milan would not leave her alive once she hand over the documents. David isn't interested in her safety. He said if it is necessary for the nation's security, they should sacrifice lives. Tom rushes to save Venus. Meanwhile, Venus met Milan. She is stubborn about seeing her husband alive before giving documents. Milan feels the trap and hurries off from there. But Venus gets hold of him. He kicks her in the belly. Venus crumbles down in pain. He points his gun at her. Then Venus takes her prosthetic belly and hits him with that. It is revealed that she is not really pregnant. He stammers and falls to the ground. She then takes his gun and shoots him down. On hearing the gunshot, Tom and David rush to the spot. Venus leaves an envelope and runs from there. David orders his team to get her. He gives out her details as the lady in the white saree. But they find all the women in the city clad in white saree. Due to the custom of the festival, Venus mingles with the crowd and successfully escapes. They find a thank you note for Tom and a pen drive consisting of data from Mike's system in the envelope. They came to know that she used them to kill Milan, and her real identity is still a puzzle for them, as she left no evidence of her, either be it signature or fingerprints. From the data provided, Jack was captured. People lit candles in memory of the lives lost in the poisonous attack. Venus is lighting candle in her home. It is revealed that she is the widower of the man who has searched for the bag in the opening scene. He was an intelligence officer. The scene moves to the past. Venus is shocked to know her husband's demise and suffered a miscarriage. To avenge his husband's death, she joins with the chief of his husband and plots to catch whoever were involved in the poisonous attack. She photoshopped Milan's picture into her wedding pictures and pretended to looking for her missing husband. She successfully executed her plan and escaped without leaving any traces of her. A criminal of national importance failed before the determination of a woman. While others misjudged Venus to be a feeble, forsaken, powerless pregnant woman. She showed them cleverly what a woman who knows how to think could do in her potential. While we don't recommend revenge-taking as a solution to problems in those testing times, like Venus, if you have your head straight and make a clear decision, no matter what life throws your way, the resilience you keep will give you happiness. If you enjoy this video, please like and share your priceless comments, it will help us reach to other movie lovers. And do subscribe to our channel for more upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.